Education. My name is Greg Weaver, and this is ENG4E, Grade 12 Workplace English. I'd like to welcome everyone listening across the North Sea at home, your learning center, or on Bell Express U. To call and join our class, you can call 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017 or 2983 in the Sioux Lookout, Lac Seul, or Dryden area. This is our last class of the term and of the school year. Deadline for IELTS courses is tomorrow. We still have exams to do. You can talk to your teachers about those. Those students in my class with exams too can do them on Monday. But we are going to look at the end. And what we're doing today, we're probably going to have a short class. We are going to be looking at lesson 20 today. So with lesson 20, you are going to be writing, you've already done resumes and cover letters. You're going to be looking at possible interview questions for that. So we're going to revisit key question 53 very, very quickly. And this asks you to find 5 jobs, print them out, and then do resumes and cover letters for 2 of them. So for the purpose of lesson 20, I have found a job ad here in Sioux Lookout that we are going to examine. And we're going to use as our basis for lesson 20. So the job ad is here. And I found it on jobbank.gc.ca, which is a website that's listed in your unit. It's the national job search for all of Canada. So we're looking at jobs in Sioux Lookout, and this one is for a postal clerk with Canada Post. And so the full posting is right. It says, here's what it is. To see the posting, you have to click here, which I did, and it opens up here. So what it is, it's for temporary on-call. And so it just gives a brief job description. Look at mail operation, retail environment for Canada Post. So then the requirements or skills you have to have is where it says the successful candidate will. And that's to perform a variety of sales customer service activities, operate computer point of sale, maintain floor displays, conduct merchandising, can handle postal products, financial transactions, cash, check, debit, and credit card payments, receive, sort, sequence, and batch mail, operate mail person equipment, transmit mail between floor sections using rolling motorized equipment, operate computer with key and data, review mailings for accuracy, power post, etc. Be required to stand in one place for up to 3.5 hours at a time. Exercise physical effort in handling a mail lines weighing up to 22.7 kilograms or 50 pounds. And carrying mail items weighing up to 35 pounds. And bending, reaching, lifting, and carrying, etc. So experience in customer service in retail environment is an asset. And sales experience is an asset. And working in a production environment is also an asset. So if you work, say, at your community's co-op or northern store, this may be a good job you may want to consider applying for. Now, it's only temporary on call, so it's not full-time or part-time. It's as needed, but still, it'd be something. And then it goes on for more descriptions and examples through here as well. So that's a job posting. So we're considering that for key question 53. And we wrote a resume and a cover letter for it. Lesson 20 is looking at job interviews. So interview is usually the final stage of any job application process, and the stage that ultimately results in the person either being successfully obtaining the job or being rejected. The interview is a formal meeting between representatives of an employer and a potential employee to discuss the suitability of a job. It has been described as a chance to show off in a professional way. An individual will be called for a job interview if the employer is fairly satisfied after having read a cover letter and a resume, that they think they'd be a good employee. The employer needs to speak with the individual in person, however, to be convinced, without a doubt, that he or she was the best person and a good employee. When called for interview, in which you should be given date and a time which to show up and answer some questions. There's also an opportunity to ask questions related to the job if needed. Interview generally lasts anywhere between 15 minutes to an hour, depending on the type of job you're interviewing for. As well, um, they could be multiple stages. Some interviews have 3 or 4 different steps, or 3 or 4 different meetings that occur as well, not just one. So with that in mind, some tips and guidelines is before they maybe learn as much as you can about the business, or company, or organization you could be working for soon. Be prepared again for the interview for possible questions you could be asked during the interview. Write some questions down and answer them the best you can. Read through your answers and rehearse them as much as needed. If necessary, role-play an interview with a family member or a friend to practice for the real thing. You'll most likely not be the only one being interviewed for a job. You will have competition. Third one is arrive for interview appropriately dressed at least a few minutes before schedule begin. Big one arrives. Greet the interviewers, usually at least 2 people, with good eye contact and firm handshakes. When it says dress appropriately, normally for an depending on the type of work that you're doing, you want to be dressed fairly nice. If you're working in an office environment, probably a shirt and tie, or either a skirt and a blouse, or a pantsuit for women. If it's for more of a construction job, you may want to show up more in construction clothing, but you want to make sure that you show up, you can present yourself that you can do the job that you are interviewing for. Number 4 is try to relax and be confident as much as possible without the interview question, and maintain good posture and eye contact. Listen carefully to each question asked by the interviewers, and be honest in your response to each one. It's important just to be yourself. Number 5 is show some genuine interest and enthusiasm when you're answering the questions, and try to ask at least one question of your own. That could be as simple as, when do you think you'll be hiring the position? When the interview is over, thank the interviewers for their time, and then leave the room promptly. Remember that job interview is a formal meeting, and you have to be as professional about the whole thing. It's from beginning to end. After all, you are a potential employee who's hoping to be a successful candidate instead of someone else. Depending on where you're interviewing and what the job is, sometimes an interview process starts the minute you walk in the door. While you're sitting there waiting, sometimes the secretary or receptionist will have a checklist, and they'll look at how do you treat them when you walk in. How do you wait? Do you play on your phone? Do you sit there quietly? Do you look around and read like the company literature that's there if they have it? It starts the minute you walk in the door. It doesn't end until you walk out and leave. So keep in mind, as soon as you get there, you have to act professional. Normally you want to get there at least 15 minutes early. In case they are running early, you get started right away. And it shows you're eager and you actually are interested in the job itself. Now, with that in mind, in the interview, you're going to be asked questions, obviously. These will be both general questions, tell us about yourself, and questions that are specific to the position that you are applying for. So just explain how you would suspend a transaction until and call it later. The following list is a number of general questions that tend to be asked in an interview. So they're tell us, or why do you apply this position? Tell us about yourself. What do you consider to be your biggest strengths? Do you have any experience in doing this kind of work? And if so, can you briefly describe it for us? Name a weakness that you have. You require to have good communication skills. Can you comment on this a little bit for us? If offered the job, are you willing to work some evening shifts, depending on what kind of job you're applying for? What can you tell us about this company or organization? Why should we hire you for this job? And do you have any questions for us? Of all those questions, I'm going to highlight two that are normally always asked, and people normally have a very hard time answering. So those questions are: name a weakness that you have, and why should we hire you? So those are questions that people normally have the hardest time responding to. People try to prepare ahead of time, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So looking at those 9 questions, key question 54, it says, choose one of the 2 jobs you wrote your resume cover letter for in the previous lesson. Congratulations, you've now been called for an interview with that company. You're going to prepare your answers to the general questions that we looked at in the lesson. Answer on a separate sheet of paper. The questions are: why did you apply this position? Tell us about yourself. What do you consider to be your biggest strengths? Do you have any experience doing this kind of work? And if so, can you briefly describe it for us? Name a weakness that you have. You'll be required to have some good communication skills. Can you comment on this a little bit for us? If offered this job, are you willing to work some evening shifts? Excuse me. Are you willing to work some evening shifts? Can you tell us what comes from the organization? And why do you think we should hire you for this job? That's worth 27 marks, 3 marks for each question. Do your best to answer these. So, for example, we answer these based on the Canada Post job I just showed you at the beginning of the lesson in the class. And then key question 55 is our very last key question for the unit and for the course. So it's worth 30 marks. This says, in addition to the 9 questions that you just looked at, these are just general questions. They're not specific for the job. You need to come up with 5 additional questions that the interviewers will ask you. Once you come up with them, answer them as well. This should be done on a separate sheet of paper for 20 marks. So brainstorm 10 questions that you're going to ask your interviewers. The questions should be relate to the position you interviewed for. Actually, refresh was the second one. So first thing you do is come up with 5 additional questions. So that they're going to ask you. So for our Canada Post job, one of them could be something about physical strength. Give us an example where you did a job require you to stand for long periods of time and where you're required to lift certain objects. That's a requirement that is directly in the job posting. When you work to come up with your 5 questions, take a look at the job you applied for and you just got the interview for. Look at what the requirements are. So it says it may be under qualifications, skills, job requirements, things like that, things you have to have. Use those to focus in on your questions. So you want to come up with 5 questions and then answer them. So once again, you get 5 marks for coming up with 5 questions. Then you get 3 marks for answering those questions. And then brainstorm 10 questions that you are going to ask your interviewers. The questions should relate to the position you're interviewing for and should be professional. So try and go with 10 questions. You know, some students have a hard time with this. Come up with as many questions as you can. And that is the end of our unit, the last questions you have to do, as well as the end of our course. So just want to do a quick review of all the key questions from the unit, and then we'll talk about what's on your final exam, and then that'll be it. So we started looking at this unit. We started last week. The first lesson looked at finding an apartment, finding a place to rent, and what to look for. So we looked at different terms, as well as different ways you can find apartments. And then you looked at reasons why you would break your lease. So there'll be some reason that would cause you to break your lease. And you have to think of 5 reasons and explain them, and then write a letter to your landlord. Lesson 17 is looking at the specific parts of a lease. And you had to look at the different parts, went through it together. Then you had to find 3 apartments or houses that you would like to rent, print off the posts, and then explain in a paragraph why not this would be a place for you to live. And then you had to choose one of your ads. So you just found a key question 48, and then complete the sample lease that is available and is provided for you at the back of Unit 4. It starts at page 35. It's called the additional handouts. And then lesson 18, looked at auto insurance, different terms, how to get auto insurance, looking at getting quotes, and then looking at different ways leasing and quotes based on leasing. Lesson 19, we looked at yesterday, looked at resumes and cover letters. Where are they? How you set them up. And then we looked at finding jobs and researching jobs, how to find the jobs you may be interested in. And then today we looked at interview questions and how you can prep for an interview. So with that, that's all we're going to cover for Unit 4. When it turns to the final exam, there's 4 sections on your final exam. The first section is looking at grammar, punctuation use, and spelling. We looked at back in Unit 1. And for that, you have to correct a paragraph that's full of spelling mistakes, has no capital letters, misplaced grammar usage, and 0 punctuation. That's the first part. The second part is looking at doing character sketches, which we looked at in Unit 2. The third part looks at resumes and cover letters. And then the last section is an opinion writing. So it's a longer writing task. You have to think about look about everything you learned about in the course, and think about how was that beneficial to students who are graduating with the workplace industry, graduating with their OSST, and going to the workforce. How are these beneficial? And that's it. Your exam is out of 92 marks. You have 2 hours to do it, and you cannot use a computer. So other than that, I think that's where we'll end for now. Hope everyone, if you're still working the course, please get in as soon as you can. If you're on the radio course, which we have 1 student, you have to next Friday. If you're in the IO course, your deadline is tomorrow. If you need a day or 2 to do your exam, please call me tomorrow or email me, Facebook me. Let me know that you need that help, so I can get that right. I can get that set up for you. Other than that, thanks everyone for joining me. If you do want to keep taking this course, you can apply for the summer term. A summer term is going on now. You would have until August 21st to complete your course. And other than that, this course will be offered again next year with a different teacher. I will not be teaching this English courses next year. So you will have a different teacher for that, but the course will stay the same. Other than that, thanks everyone to joining for the last 9 weeks. Thanks for tuning in and listening in. Hope you got something out of the course. Other than that, I hope everyone has a very good summer. A chance to relax and for you to spend time with family. And other than that, for the very last time, thank you, miigwech, and goodbye.